Hey, good evening. This is Mr. Benning, and we want to look at starting off our first section on variables. So, we're going to actually start to look at just simplifying numerical expressions as our learning target. Our success criteria are that I can take numerical expressions and simplify them into their simplest forms, and I can substitute a number into an algebraic expression and simplify the resulting expression into its simplest form. So we're going to do a lot of just simplify, meaning to make things simpler. So anytime you see the word simplify, just means to make simpler or easier. In other words, you can look at it. So let's start with the opening opening equation, word problem here. It says, when going to a beach, there are shops and equipment that rent equipment like umbrellas, surfboards, scuba gear, and snorkeling gear. Suppose that the shop, Mr. Benning's Marine Supply, rents snorkeling gear by the hour. The shop charges $4.50 per hour. And says the amount you pay depends on what? I mean, what makes that dependent? Okay, what you pay for is dependent on what? Well, let's look at the table below. Well, the more hours that I rent, so if I increase or make larger the number of hours, what happens to my charges? It also increases. So the amount I pay depends on the time you keep the gear. And that makes sense because, well, even when we go to the store, if I buy, we're looking at the same bags of potato chips, and if I buy 3 bags of potato chips, I'm going to spend more buying 3 bags than I would if I bought 2 bags of the same kind. That makes sense. Same thing here. The longer I keep the gear, or the more time I keep it, the more you're going to be charged for it. So what we do in this case is we start to look for a pattern. And so, okay, we can say, oh, the rental charge is $4.50 times the number of hours. Or another way that I write it is that the rental charge is $4.50 times H. So we just made an equation here. And we use the variable H because it represents hours. And generally when I pick a variable, okay, so pick a variable that allows you to easily remember the quantity, like what you're looking for. So let's look at some definitions. So a variable is a symbol that is used to represent one or more numbers. So a variable is one of these things that, it takes the place of a number. So in the value or the values of the variable are all the numbers that it can be. So like for example, if I'm counting people and I say, 6.5 was the number of people I had in my class. Well, remember that doesn't make sense because how can you have a half a person? So we would say, I'd either say 6 or I'd have to say 7, but I couldn't say 6.5. It doesn't make sense. So we just mark that out. So that wouldn't be a valid value, but 6 or 7 would be. So an expression contains symbols, numbers, or both, and does not have an equal sign. So let's go all the way back to kindergarten, first grade, whenever you learn this. But the first thing that we always learn in those is 1 plus 1. Well, 1 plus 1, we know we can make that 2 because 1 plus 1 equals 2. We just learned an expression, 1 plus 1, and we know that it equals 2, so we simplified or made it simpler. 2 is much simpler to write than 1 plus 1. So a variable is an expression that contains at least one variable. So we look at 19 times a, 1/2 times c, 8ab, xyz, x plus y minus z would be another one, 8 plus a plus b would be another one. I mean, you notice that they have at least one variable. Some of these have 2, some have 3 or more, but as long as it has a variable, it's a variable expression. Whereas a numeric expression is an expression that has only numbers and can be simplified further. Notice that I do not do anything with the x plus y minus z or the 8 plus a plus b because we can't add those together. I don't know what a is. I don't know what b is. I know nothing about either one of those two, so I can't make it simpler. Whereas numeric expressions, like this 450 times 5, that I can multiply together to get the 2250. So, again, we just want to look at a numeric expression. We want to make it simpler. So example 1. I'm going to work through example 1, and I'll pause it, and then we'll do example 2 quickly. So example 1, I have in parentheses 42 divided by 6 plus 8. And the first thing we need to look at is by procedures, always look at parentheses. What's inside the parentheses? So I start here, and I look at what is 42 divided by 6. Well, 42 divided by 6, if you do it in the calculator or if you count up by sixes, you'll find out that that answer is 7 because 7 times 6 is 42. Now, since I didn't do anything with the plus 8, I'm going to bring that whole thing down, make that a plus 8. Now I've got 7 plus 8, and 7 plus 8 is 15. So what I want you guys to do is pause the video for a minute, work part B, and we'll go ahead and put down the work. Okay, welcome back. Let's check your work. Let's see what we've done and see if you've gotten it correct. So we've got 8 minus 2. We start with the parentheses again. I drop the 54, keep my division symbol. 8 minus 2 is 6. 54 divided by 6, or 6 times what is 54? And if you go back to math class, you realize that that is 9. Make sure you show your work. Showing your work tells me what you know how to do. Doesn't mean you possibly can't do something a little quicker, but I need to know that you know. So let's look at the back page. Evaluation. It says evaluate with each expression when A is 5. So I know what A is. So we're going to do a substitution. A substitution means that we're going to replace. Because I know A equals 5. It doesn't matter which one I put in. As long as I put in, if I take out the A, I got to put in a 5. I can take out the 5 and put it in A. Both are valid. So what this means, in part A, when I've got a number and a variable mashed together, that just means multiply. So I can write out 7 times, use the star, A. I could write out 7, use the parentheses, A. I could even use the dot, A. I will tend to use the parentheses. That's my preferred method. But one of those three works. Now, let's go back just for a second. Then we talk about the x. If I were to write up for this 7xa, does that look like 7 times a, or is it 7xa? Is it two variables or is it multiplication? It's confusing, okay? So we don't use this form, okay? Do not use this one here. So let's go ahead and put that in. So we've got a, which is 5. So I'll do 7 times 5. Well, what is 7 times 5? You count up on your fingers, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So that's 35. Put that in. Now pause it and go ahead and do the similar thing with B. Oh, good. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and work this one out. So now I'm going to put in the 5 for A. So I got 3 times 5 plus 2. Well, then I do my 3 times 5, which is 15, plus 2, which is 17. Notice that sometimes we have more steps than others. That happens in math. So sometimes you got more steps to work than others. Be aware of that. So now we'll look at example 3. Example 3 just has x equals 12 and y equals 9. So I know that I can take the 12, put it where the x is, and the 9 and put it where the y is. So when I put those in, the first thing I'm going to do is substitute. So we'll do 5. Let me erase that real quick. We'll try this again. 5 times 12 minus 3 plus 9. Well, we always do our parentheses first. So we've got parentheses. So I've still got my 5 times 12. Because that 12 was already simplified, as simple as it can go. So we do 3 plus 9, which is 12. But what is 5 times 12? 5 times 12, we multiply it out, is 60 minus 12. We'll do our subtraction. So we got 60 minus 12, borrow 1, make that a 5. 10 minus 2 is 8. 5 minus 1 is 4. So that is 48 for my answer. So you know the drill. Pause, work 3x plus 4y. We'll come back in a minute. Okay, welcome back. Let's do the same things. Do our substitution first. So we got 3 times 12 plus 4 times 9. All we have is multiplications. We're just going to left to right. So 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 9 is also 36. And when you add 36 plus 36 together, and it's okay if you want to do it over here. Come on. Try this again. 36, 36. We add it up, and you get 72. So go ahead and do the homework that has been assigned to you, and we'll see you in the next video.